champion. It could be happening this time with
Well,
the
speaking of
Esports World
steps, since we've got a little bit of time before it starts, we've got a little bit of a delay there. Let's talk through the journeys the teams have taken just through this tournament to get started. No, I'll apologize for that. It looks like, in fact, our delay has been cut short, so we'll be heading into the first game of our second semi-final today. The Wolves are waiting at the door to see who their opponents will be at the end of this best of 3.
Wow! So 4v4, they're all in the same, so Ascending Almec will start small. We'll start with Silver, then Gold, and then obviously that Prismatic that has so much volatility, especially in the early game. Obviously, late game you can cap out with some significant Prismatic, but the early game is the most important here. They want to get direction, and now, normally, here is the place where you always tell me, Counter, that we have to talk about general things, but also now, if in any orbs of this we get a Syndra, that's also a thing.
That's fair.
That's one of the meta. Syndra on early game on orbs.
I mean, it's not a Shen, it's not a Jinx good enough for you? Ah, come on.
It's nowhere near good enough. Nowhere near good enough. I mean, sell the Shen, sell the Jinx, sell everything. Start rolling now for the Syndra while you're at it.
Well, I mean, to bring the conversation back to the teams, and to the Syndra as well, from Twisted Minds, there's no before, Stuart, you're saying they've got some good variety in there, but it is built on a foundation of Vanguard Syndra. They played an absolute ton of it, along with the more out there comps, making sure they've always got a solid base to build from.
Yeah,
I think in general it's about being able to understand your positioning in terms of items, in terms of maybe how many Syndras you have at the start. As you mentioned, all the Twisted Mind players have at least had 2 or more games of Vanguard Syndra. So they're all able to play it. They all perform really well on it. It's just making sure that you can actually get to that opportunity and realize that situation.
SCSC now in the ground, already here with a Cassadin. He has a rod, so maybe not the best spot to begin. And always good to see having a position of going for Portal in the game is one of the best synergies to start the game with. And as we were saying previously, Counter, SCSC has been the hero here. So actually, for him getting direction and the rest of the team already knowing what he's going to play against or with, is a good chance for them to actually funnel resources into him.
So remember, we've got the silver augments coming. As said before, SCSC, absolutely outrageous player. We will be looking to see if any of our players do manage to find something spicy on the silver tier.
We do have only a 2-item start as well, which you can see a lot of players already have above 10 gold. So this is going to be really impactful in terms of the way that the game is going to be played out. A lot of players might be trying to lose streak early on to try and reach that 50 gold interest as soon as possible, which we know is so important for that 3-2 roll down to try and hit your 2 costs. So I think that's going to be a very interesting adaptation. But a Akali 2-star to start things off as well for Huame.
Yeah, Caretaker. So probably that's where the Akali came from. So that vertical will enable him to play either the Akali with the Cassadin, that's their normal play. And there's a universe. I'm not saying we'll see it, but we'll see the Nila. It's a unit that we haven't seen so much. I know Juanmi has played it. He has played it in solo queue so long, but obviously Cassadin is the one who stabilized better on round 3. So that's the normal way to go. But I really would like to see Nila in action here.
No, I would as well. Definitely a composition that has got a fair amount of punch to it. Of course, we do have a couple of different approaches we sometimes see with the Caretakers, because you're still getting the unit, even if you don't stay and reroll, so you can find a couple of different routes for the game which can still work.
Totally, you can go tempo, you can go immediately fast 8 and just enjoying it, that you know that you have that unit. But again, I think for Cassadin, makes sense. Cassadin, Panda was telling us he's one-trick Cassadin. I have to say it. Panda, you're a one-trick Cassadin. It's a comp that it will not get the win out, but you want to stabilize at level in 3-2, get a Cassadin 2, and then you want to go to level 9. Play against the Kalista, put preservers in if you can, and now he knows that he will get the other units 3-star immediately. So great for him.
I think it's about the position of knowing how strong you are at 3-2. Like, am I strong enough to keep leveling? Yeah. Am I strong enough to maybe roll down a little bit more? I think adapting and understanding what position you're in terms of knowing if you can stay healthy enough at 3-2 will allow you to push levels and save HP.
Well, speaking of taking early damage, Huame has gone to level 5 already. So it's really putting down some pressure from the top of the table. 2-star Akali, of course, already in place, but could be the one to be the front runner, at least in the early going for Twisted Minds. Yeah,
double Eldritch here. I'll did for the start, and that means we have the Syndra pair here in Bobe. So Bobe is still with the Syndra, but you were calling it out, Stuart. There's only a 2-item start two-component start, so that means that they will not be able to give Syndra easily an item to generate mana or generate speed. So that will delay a lot the ramp up for the Syndra. This is very important because, as we know, Syndra, it starts good, but in the late game, there is where it ramps up and needs a lot of stacks.
Yeah, well, at least we see Dunizuni with the Pandora. So if you don't have a lot of components, at least you're trying to make sure they are the correct ones. Dunizuni with a couple of early wins. We'll see if he can keep it going up against 60-second. We've got the red buff. We've got the Nila in place. It may not be the re-roll, but at least she's getting a little moment in the sun.
She gets a bit of love to start things off. I mean, this board at the moment for Hwame is absolutely incredible. The Akali 2, the Nila 2 combo. I don't think Hwame is going to be losing around anytime soon. I think this is why he leveled to level 5 so early. He wants to put the pressure on the lobby. He wants to deal as much damage as possible. Yes, he might be dealing more damage to his teammates as well, but he does more damage to the members of T1 as well. So Hwame already looking an incredible spot to try and keep the tempo up in this lobby.
There's a Casa in there in the carousel. Could be griefed by some of the players, and there's some possibilities to hear in some of the comms live. So that's also very interesting to realize and to see what could be the play here. Communication here on carousel, very important for them to make sure they get the resources where they want it.
Yeah, it was actually Bintum and Bobe actually talking there, deciding who takes the glove and who takes the tier. So who actually prioritizes what item, because you can see them hovering, and it's so important in the carousel, you know, with both these players loose streaking and being outside first, what items do I prefer? What units do I prefer as well?
I do want to, of course, update the most important stat of the one, which is SPG, the Spug, the Syndras per game. We have got 5 different players running Syndra right now, and some of them, as we see from UA here, have got pretty good itemization, even with relatively limited components.
Yeah, getting the Shojin here is huge. That will mean he will ramp up immediately. Hwame, once again, Nila 2, the Akali also getting the Jack, so he's stable. He hasn't slammed. Once again, the low resources will make a difference here. So on the left, we have Hwame still with the win streak without slamming item, and on the right, again, with the limpid Dunizuni. So both of them are the ones who want to maintain this win streak, Stuart. Very important to preserve XP and to get resources for the late game.
Yeah, I mean, win streaking so important. Streaking in general, really important in this 4 versus 4 format, just trying to get that extra little bit of gold, especially because most of these players are aggressively rolling down at 3-2. The more gold you have at 3-2, the more gold you can roll down to try and stabilize your board as well. But to be fair, I don't even know if Hwame is even going to be leveling. I mean, we're going to be rolling or leveling anytime soon. He's so healthy. He's on that 4 streak at the moment, and he's probably praying that he comes up against Dunizuni, because I think that he can actually beat him and ruin that streak.
You know, speaking of streaks, I do believe, we'll check in a second once this round is done, but there could be some very important streaks coming out of this round.
Yeah, Bintum and Bobai, just as you were saying, counter both in the same team, both with the lose streak. So they don't want to face against each other. That's the way they want to avoid it. And they are. So only one of them will maintain. There's the thumb up for Bintum. So one of them will get great economy, and the other will be punished.
I mean, certainly you want your player with a stim pack to be able to take the L's, especially when you know the long-term plan here has got to involve the Syndra much more than it would ever involve the Kog'Maw.
I think it's just a situation right now that's like the communication has to come in as like, who is in a better position to try and cap out? Who's in a better position where you want that extra gold onto the units? They seemed like they want Bintum to keep on this lose streak right now. It was a little bit close. 1 unit loss. Okay, business coming in the end for both these 2 players. So not a bad loss for Bintum, but keeping that streak means that he can roll down a little bit of gold. He's only 1 Kog'Maw away for getting that Kog'Maw 2-star early on, which could be a pretty big spike.
Checking him in with Hwame, yeah, of course. That Caretaker's ally means that he has been very strong during the early going, along with Snowy, who's only on a slightly lesser streak. Twisted Minds, after having seen one of the streaks broken for T1, are coming out of stage 2 looking really strong.
Snowy here also with the Caretaker, probably the Galio is the one that we're seeing here. So he wanted to get the Syndra, he didn't get the Syndra early to make sure he get the Vanguard with the Galio. So now I think he will have to play a tempo, maybe try to go for that vertical portal if he get an augment that enables him to do it.
Yeah, you can see as well that Dunizuni actually did lose his streak in the end. So we did see that Hwame and Dunizuni were the 2 players on the streak. Now it's actually both Twisted Mind players on the win streak as well. So they're going to be looking to aggressively level, try and play tempo, and try and take down some of these members, because we know that the likes of Bintum and Bobe are loose streaking to try and get as much economy as possible.
Of course, if you're here for the previous times we saw Snowy, I just want to bring it to the forefront again. It's a player we saw being heavily contested in games before and still managing to do incredibly well. He's a very dangerous player indeed. But as we come into stage 3, Juanme and Snowy, they've got to collide at some points. We have the same conversation we had for T1 before. Who's going to take the ball and run with it, at least during the early game?
Yeah, I love to talk about Snowy a little more. This is a player that he's not the hero of the game. He has the lowest AVP, but he's helping. He get in the rock or the support role, so he's always helping the team. He's communicating, and he's trying not to go 8th even in a bad position. So that's very important. And once again, Snowy is up against Juanme. He's with 50 seconds. He's CUA. These are champions. These are they have been in worse stages so many times. So Snowy being here, he knows it's an opportunity to improve even his game even more.
Yeah, to prove himself as well. You know, coming into this, I think he's a player that not a lot of players even knew about coming into this, and not even us talent as well. He's a player that's only been competing for a little while in terms of the scene over in China, but in terms of being on the global stage and in such a big format, it's going to be so huge. But I think this could be a huge win here for Snowy. It is Dinazuni now going to be on a 2-loss streak. So Juanme and Snowy still not playing against each other.
Yeah, let's be very lucky so far as we get into the second augment and see how long Twisted Mind can keep on dominating. As you said, too healthy. It's almost always just going to be the choice.
I mean, you see it straight away. You don't even need to re-roll the other augments. I think you're in the situation. I think you just re-rolled the other augments just in case. But yeah, as you can see, Syndra 2-star upgraded, already has a bunch of 2 costs on his board. He can try and get extras as well. Early Rise on the bench could be a possibility. Early Nami on the bench as well. So a really, really nice roll down here for SC, and obviously going to be helping in terms of the items with their silver augment.
Yeah, not holding the Catherine to help the team. He knows they're in a good position. He needs to save those rolls for the other game. CUA, now with the Syndra 2, he finds this stabilization so important counter. Maybe lacking a little frontline, not items, but 3 items on that Syndra to funnel that scaling into the late game.
And it seems like the Caretakers was actually the Neela in the end. I thought it was actually the Akali at the start, but it's actually the Neela.
We're going to see the Neela!
We're back, baby! We're back! Which is actually crazy, because we saw at the start there was a 2-star Akali and 2-star Neela, so we was like, which one is going to be the Caretakers? But it's actually Neela, so Juanme going to be playing this aggressive style of trying to roll for the Neela. Has the Eldritch emblem as well, so he's going to be trying to get in that huge, massive summon.
All right, Hubei, you were the most excited to see Neela in here. Convince us, make us believe that Neela 3 is the hidden tech that just hasn't been unleashed yet.
Is it better than Syndra?
You not ask that question.
Oh, come on, that's unfair a question.
It's like you asked me, what's better, apple or lemon? So
they're just different flavors of greatness. I understand.
No, very important. The question you asked, Counter. I mean, Neela is like a dot champion. You wanted her to go like scale maybe with a Ginso, maybe with a Titans. While the Akali is more like an assassin. She goes to the back line. She's able to dash and get that kill. So actually they synergize in a way. You want to have them maybe spread out or in the same place according to what you want to see, but it will depend on who you're facing. So it's not a tier S comp, but it's one of the first reroll comps that appear that we haven't seen it so far. It's very good to see it here in semifinals.
Interesting enough here, Juanme actually frontlining his Ashe and Syndra. So actually doesn't even want to continue the win streak, it seems like, or maybe in a position where he feels like he can't carry on the win streak, so he'll rather give over kind of the HP in the end to Zui. So really interesting decision there, not allowing his win streak to continue.
A really good catch there. That does seem a surprising choice, but I mean, right now, Twisted Minds, they're looking very good overall, so maybe they can take some of those liberties with the game. I mean, Juanme's certainly gotten enough money from his streak up to this point to say, I'm willing to bat on pass to a teammate.
And once again, communication. You were translating the previous Stuart. You said you knew what they were talking. Can you help us here? What's 60 seconds?
I think I heard Neela 3 in there somewhere. Oh? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. That's the only thing I heard.
Okay. I mean, I don't know about translation, but I am British after all, so I only really know English. And
we've been exposed.
Even outside of even the English dictionary, sometimes it's very limited. So I don't think I'll be translated to to Korean anytime soon. But yeah, I mean, both players, I mean, especially for T1 as well, the communication is key because most of their players were at the bottom again. So, again, realizing that situation of, hey, do we need to deny Nila items now? Because this is something that the players are not used to. We're used to players denying the likes of Syndra, Kassadin items, but now we need to try and deny the Nila items so that she doesn't become this late game beast.
I do want to draw attention to Bintum now, of course, at the center of our screen, and 62nd currently at the bottom. You know, in terms of streaks, again, you know, we're kind of bringing them back into the conversation. We saw a lot of good control from Twisted Mind before. At the moment, they've got the win streak, they've got the loss streak as well. 62nd, the only member of Twisted Mind in the bottom four, making sure that he's scooping up the cash.
Yeah, he has 5 Syndra there, but as you've been mentioning, there's a lot of Syndra already in the lobby. It will be very hard for anyone that doesn't have additional resources, for example, that prismatic ticket that we saw, to get actually into the Syndra tree. So I don't think we will see it. So most of them will want to go Tempo, want to go for the Warrior Preserved. That is actually Karma. It's Karma Flex. we put it as Warrior Preserved because there's 2 warriors in the comp, but that's Karma Flex. So you play Syndra, you cannot get a 3-star. You go level 8, you play Karma, play Preservers, and play good units in your board.
Ubison and Clement were talking about this for so long. This morning when these two were talking, it was like, Warriors Preserver, isn't like basically Karma? just with some Warriors Preservers on the front.
You just lift up the mask and say, wait a second, you were Karma the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. It was a bait all along. You just put Karma in every board at the moment. But, I mean, being one of the best full-course units, no doubt that Karma fits on so many different boards, especially with the Syndra. Works so well with so many of the other units as well. And, you know, it's not just her damage, but it's also her utility of being able to heal as well. You know, these warriors on the front line can take a lot of damage. So the healing can also be very important.
Yeah, we know that's one of the options that's considered being taken out of the game in future patches because of how powerful it can be. CUA, though, on the win streak for Twisted Minds, as Premier did step aside to allow more room on top. The Syndra looking really good, the 5-round streak. And we can see that even with the full upgrades coming in, it's not going to make any difference at all. CUA keeps on streaking. Dunizuni will have to drop down a little bit.
And we go back to where Hwame was actually giving Zizui the win earlier on, you know, stopping Hwame's win streak. But actually, that understanding of knowing that Zui can actually carry on this streak for 5 rounds now, that understanding is incredible for Twisted Minds. You know, understanding that, hey, I can't carry on my streak because I'm not strong enough. Let's give that win streak over to someone else and let's kind of level out the HP totals.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, here in the semi-final stages, this is when, this is the penultimate series of the entire event here at the Esports World Cup. If there's ever a time to demonstrate complete mastery, at least the possible mastery at this point during the 4v4 cycle, it's got to be right here. Ubison, what other, from where we are right now, coming into stage 4, how do you see the rest of this game playing out?
Yeah, I mean, the tempo has been slow. As you said in the beginning, Stuart, only 2 components at the start. People have been actually greeding a lot in terms of units. For example, we saw Vitality slamming items that helping in the early game, but then they couldn't close it out. Now they're being a little more greedy. So we saw a lot of components now. Being the stage 4, they will really start to be aggressive. So now we will see all of those Syndra players contemplating going to level 8, contemplating transferring to the Karma comp, and who will hit will be important. There we will be seeing the Cosma 3.
And interesting enough, every single member of Twisted Minds all went to level 7. So they're all trying to play this either tempo or they're all trying to go to level 7 to try and stabilize their board. Obviously for Hwame here, going to level 7, trying to get them extra Nilas is super important, especially with this Caretaker's ally. It really depends on how much you can get in terms of the reroll. At the moment, it looks like he has 6 Nilas, so still needs a little bit more left. But it's super interesting because the likes of Bobe and Bintum, we just saw Bintum in the picture get that Cogmore 3-star. But 2 of them staying on level 6, but everyone on Twisted Minds trying to preserve HP and play tempo.
Yeah, the level of coordination we're seeing from Twisted Minds, and as you said before, Stuart, the depth of strategy is really amazing.
Yeah, Syndra 3 now, finally for 60 seconds. So he achieved exactly what he wanted it. Only 2 items, but this will enable the rest of the lobby will have to pivot out and will have to go for the Karma as we were talking about.
What? All right. Well, we got something a little bit different here. All right, Snowy calls the Chaos, and Chaos answers.
He's definitely Chaos. I mean, it's Chaos to go 8th, that's for sure. I don't know if he wants to keep that way. I don't know about you. I would probably sell it and just keep on rolling.
Yeah, it's more than 20 gold. We want that gold exactly right now. It's more useful that way. I mean, Wei is a unit, but obviously it's not a unit.
It's not a unit. Let's be honest.
This is a unit. That's what you want to see.
It's just an instance, though. I mean, that's a lot of gold for Snowy, though. I mean, level 8 with 50 gold already. Obviously, the Call to Chaos definitely helping out. Obviously, could have got a better 3 cost in the end.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not being able to. But just funneling more gold into Snowy means that he's able to try and push levels and try and even go to level 9 because he already has a Karma 2-star as well. So that will allow him to be super stable in terms of his board and try and push levels to try and get that win condition.
Then he's going to be very close to get the blue buff on her as well. The front line very, very solid for Snowy. And we said before, he's shown great resilience in other games. It looks like this game will be no different.
Yeah, Bobe's position here, slamming a defensive action here on the Syndra. Normally we don't see it. We prefer to see pure tanks and pure mana generation. So he decides to go for the Hextech Gunblade on the Syndra, so his capping board will not be amazing. He's holding Kassadin still, Cassiopeias, and I don't like the spot for Bobe. So top spot here for T1.
Second time we're seeing multi-striker here on the Neela. We've seen this, I believe it was yesterday. I can't remember which player it was exactly, but seeing that Neela, using the Neela and using the Caretaker's allies to adjust and actually play the multi-striker is a super unique composition. As you can see, really close to Kassadin 3 and also Neela 3 as well. So super interesting spot to be in for Hwamne.
Yeah, Kali 3 just completed as of that round as well. This board has great potential, even if we're seeing the Neela being swiped away by a few other players just to keep it out of the pool. Right now, of course, Hwamne hasn't fully got the board online, so may have to wait a little bit before we start to see that big streak coming through. We do, of course, we haven't talked about it yet, have the Eldritch emblem in place for Hwamne as well to give him some even bigger cap to look for.
Yeah, it gives them the guard that comes and helps the team. Normally a little CC, a little more tankiness to help support the team and scale a little more into the late game. Vintium and CUA. No, only Vintium maintains the win streak. This is huge because now T1 will have that hero player for sure, and CUA, who was the one that was contemplated to be the hero one, now with this loss, he will need to ramp up again. So, better spot at least on the top for Vintium and T1.
And ZUA going for the Radiant Shojin in the end as well, as we know one of the highest caps that you can get with Syndra, going for the Prismatic to help him out with that one. But across the whole board, I think in terms of augments, no real big surprises. Maybe the surprise on the Bintum, maybe going for the extra emblem on the Cogmore.
Well, I mean, just Bintum in general. Yeah, we've seen the Cogmore composition as a kind of comp to shoot for 5th and 6th and things. Not usually as a composition to lead the lobby and actually be providing significant pressure to the rest of your opponents.
Yeah. And now we're seeing exactly that with the Kog'Maw also flexibly. Now we're seeing some positional changes as we know. There's the Akali. There's a significant amount of multi-striker that can access the backline, so positioning now will be most important. So maybe this will be a change in the last moment to the right for Vintium, that's it. So all tanks to the right, and now is where they're communicating. They're saying, okay, funnel all the damage to the left, we'll put tanks to the right. So everyone is actually talking together to make sure that if they face each other, it's good for them. If they face the enemy, at least they are not hurting themselves so much. So good teamwork, and that's the communication that we started seeing now on State 4 mainly.
Yeah, and of course, that's been one of the sort of secret texts of the players we've been talking about. I guess we can reveal it now that Alan ZQ's Team Zero Genasi is out of the tournament. He was talking about that as well. That it's so, it's something which you really use to show your team's skill. You can pull off very quickly, especially shifting the entire teams left and right to make that kind of strategy work.
No, I think there's so much strategy to a 4v4 that maybe we don't even know about yet as well, because for us it's also the first time it's a 4v4 tournament. So I think just seeing a different side of Teamfight Tactics and seeing a different side of what can actually be played in the game, it's super nice to see. It's like a breath of fresh air, really, in terms of the format and in terms of seeing how the communication can work in such a strategical game. God,
The strategies are very complicated, to be fair. Well, I think it's going to be tough to keep track of all of them. But for Dooney Zuni, we've got the Preserver there, we've seen the Preserver Warrior from before. Because, of course, we've got 2 Warrior. We don't have too much to worry about because Fiora's up to 2-star right now. And we've got some decent itemization waiting to be transferred on the backline as well.
Yeah, there's a Fiora getting good damage in. So, once again, that Preserver line going for it. Good items for her. He doesn't access the backline, and that's what you want to see in the Fiora. But she's still alive. She's ramping up. The Sterda has deactivated, so she has that additional burst of power going into them. The Syndra still making good damage. The Ginsu is being stacked for her. So it could be either way. The Fiora falls up. The Nasus is going to gameplay and takes it away. This is huge because now the HP is more important than ever. 60 seconds, only 10 HP.
3 members of Twisted Minds now sitting in the bottom 3. So the likes of 60 Second, Huame and Snowy losing that last round means that they have to play catch-up now. It seems that Dinazuni's board is not looking too bad. If he can get a Karma instead of the Zillion, it could be a huge upgrade. Has that kind of front line already. Now has a Morgana as well to go for another Preserver, so even more healing for the team as well. Has Rakan 2-star front line. So after this round, we're probably going to be seeing Dinazuni roll down. If he can hit the Karma, especially Karma 2, this could be an incredibly strong board.
Yeah, and of course, the more members you can keep from falling into ideally the bottom 7th and 8th, the better. But you're right, we've got very tight HP from 4th place all the way down. So we've seen plenty of volatile lobbies across the tournament. We'll see how this one plays.
Gwen 2.
Okay, good. No Karmas. So that Cillian you're seeing in the bottom right is not a Cillian, it's a Karma that's doing Cillian cosplay. And no, so you want to have the real Karma right now. Let's see if he can find it. He finds a pair of Morgana, but not enough. So he will need to wait with this. 60 seconds now. Only 10 HP. He needs to win. He rolled down. Try to find a good charm here, combat charm. And he's going against the Nila 3.
Oh boy, we'll see if the fully unleashed power is worth it. Do you remember, of course, Huame was building up more power as they go. The multi-striker Nila will start cutting through the front line, but gets CC for a decent chunk of time. We've of course got the Xerath just plinking away from the corner, but Nila is very hard to put down. The CC is key, but you can see on the side, Nasus is still staying up and fighting. We're exchanging front lines for back lines, but I think the Nasus has maybe, no, not quite got it.
Good loss, actually, in the end. I feel like, no, not bad loss, but I feel like it definitely, Huame seems to be in a much better position now with all the 3 stars being upgraded. It was a pretty close loss in the end. 60 second, we thought he had the Syndra 3-star, but it must have been the charm to actually upgrade one of his 2 costs to a 3-star. So I think that's where we got a little bit baited. Sometimes it could be a little bit difficult to catch out. But yeah, in the end, 60 second, just his board in general has not really been able to cap out. Hasn't found any of the likes of the Karma, which is such a contested unit as well.
I want to bring into the conversation, because it's been so many part of so many rounds so far, how important it is to be able to find these charms at this kind of point in the game, just to hold on for a round longer.
Yeah, they need to use it for combat whenever they need, and they actually, and also for the setup. Both of them in the bottom, they have the setup, so that will mean the more charm you have, the most true damage it will be. So last life here, Snow is out, and 60 seconds, I think he will be alive, he's safe. But with this loss, Snow is opening the door for T1 to take it. So we have the first elimination here. It's an 8th. And now Twisted doesn't want to hold 7. Remember, if the 2 worst players in placement of your team go 8th and 7, you need a 1-2. And that's very hard. So you don't want to do the 8-7. You want to have a little more breathe time and area. And now once again, the roll down. And as you were saying, Counter, we need a combat charm if we want to stay alive.
So he didn't actually pick the combat charm in the end. Interesting enough, he actually tried to go for more powerhouse. He went for the charm that you can get one of each every 4 cost, which I believe is a Xerath charm, if I'm not mistaken. So one of the upgraded charms, the Ascended charms coming in there. Was able to find the Nami 2, but wasn't able to find the Karma 2. So
I mean, it's cool. If you buy it quickly and you sell everything, you finish up getting more gold, and then you get the roll down. But you need to be fast, and that's it was great to see it. Cool.
Just keeping an eye on Huame on the right-hand side of the screen. We can see the Nila. We'll see if we'll become believers. She does get cut down. I think a little bit too vulnerable to the crowd control. And the raw damage coming in. Huame could be in a bit of trouble here. And gets knocked down and out.
Yeah, this is tough. Once again, 7th and 8th for Twisted Mind. This means that now 60 seconds and CUA needs to get a 1-2. That's the only possibility for the team to come back down from this series. And remember, this is only the first game, best of 3.
I think it's really hard now for 60 seconds to try and get into that top 2. I think this is all but secured now for T1 in this game. Unless 60 seconds can pull something out of the hat, I think it's very difficult for him to actually cap out his board. With the likes of Syndra 3, Cassiopeia 3 on the other boards that T1 have got, the Cogmore 3-star board as well. Trying to out-cap all of them boards with this type of board at the moment, is not looking good, unfortunately, for Twisted Minds.
No, you need something miraculous coming out from the charm. Unfortunately, life insurance is not what... Well, you could probably use it in a more literal sense here in the game, but unfortunately, it's not going to help your board get stronger. 60-second, if he drops, this game is done for Twisted Minds and early. But Dunizuni, SCSC, we can see they're both low on HP themselves.
They're going to be coming up against each other. Can the Furor get into the back line?
Dunizuni. We have got the Karma with the items now. Promise from before. She should be able to get a good cut through the wave. Will at least deny a little bit of time. We see the Nasus in the center, surviving hugely. 60-second, it's feeling
no.
It's all going wrong so quickly for Twisted Minds. Last gasp, and they are going to be all kinds of done. We will play out the rest of the lobby, but that will be it. 3 members of Twisted Mind in the bottom 4 means that they are down in the series 0-1.
We see the happiness, we see the fist going up here for T1, so they're happy. They know they played well. They know they push the line when they really need to, and they play. I love the way they play. Stuart Boba getting in a moment he was in a dire position, but then everything 3-star for him. The Syndra, the Casio, so actually holding up resources to do exactly what they needed. Ramp up in the exact moment, and then don't stop the pedal and go for the full tempo play and get the 3 of Twisted Mind out as soon as possible.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. What we obviously saw earlier on, that Twisted Minds, all of their players were playing tempo. There wasn't really anyone on their board playing reroll except for maybe the multicasters, but even then that was to do with the Caretaker's allies helping out with leveling. But you can see T1 with the Cogmore reroll, this Syndra reroll as well, realizing the situation that everyone on Twisted Minds wasn't rerolling. So they were like, okay, this is our time to reroll, this is our time to spike and knock out the rest of the Twisted Minds. And that's exactly what they were able to do.
And that has been so infrequently the case in other games. You know, either nobody is rerolling or everybody has to reroll just to stop exactly this situation. This feels like, you know, a real problem that Twisted Minds are going to need to correct for in Game 2.
Yeah, once again, Bintium being the support player and now a rock here for the team, helping so much. And I love to see, because we have seen improvement, at least in the amount of communication that T1 has been doing. In the start, they were more passive in communication maybe, but now we see them talking all the time, reacting to whatever is happening in the game. Obviously, Stuart sometimes is able to translate a little what they're saying, or we can assume a little what I can say. I can say 안녕하세요, 감사합니다, hello, thank you, but that's what I have. So,
I don't even know that.
No?
So you're already one step ahead of me. You should be the one translating, not me.
Yeah. The Korean, there's one more I know. Like, go fast, tempo. They say pali pali.
Pali pali.
So pali pali is go fast, go fast. So they played it pali pali, and because of this, it was actually perfect. They eliminated the Twisted Mind 3 times in the bottom. So great play, very happy for T1. Also a heads up to the coach. We're seeing him also in the interview. A great guy, so smiley, so friendly with the team. And actually, we didn't talk about that so much in the pre-phase counter. Like the company itself, T1 has been supporting so much the players that they are being able to perform not only in the development but in the 4v4. So that's what you want to see here in this new format.
It makes all the difference in the world. I mean, particularly, there were so many of our teams, so many players across the entire tournament be able to play under these incredible banners, some of them fielding TFT teams for the very first time. Certainly T1 looking great in this first game. And I think, you know, having those kind of resources, you know, it helps meet the players where they're at and say, you put in the effort, the org will match it.
I think the big thing as well is that people probably underestimate how much a coach can make a difference as well in TFT. You know, a player that actually doesn't play the, well, does play the game, of course, but doesn't actually play the game actively and can look at the game from a different perspective. Being able to understand the situations of games, actually calm the players down, allow them to mentally get prepared for tournaments is such an underrated thing in TFT. We know in other esports it's such a normal role, but in TFT it's the first time we've really seen coaches actually step up and be in this type of format.
Well, particularly with this 4v4 tournament, you know, being as rewarding as it is, you know, that level of investment makes sense for the teams to be in there to, again, to unlock their true potential here as we see the last few rounds play out. Again, T1 have this game locked down, but just, you know, going for MVP points and such as well. You know, Yuppie, from your side of things, you know, particularly from the Twisted Mind side of things, you know, coming into Game 2, we've already talked about the not match and the rerolls, but is there anything rather than what they need to avoid doing, which in this case missing out on that kind of part of the game, is there anything you'd like to see them more proactively doing themselves?
No, I think they play well with the cards they get given. I think what they need is actually that the game plan goes according to what they practice. And they practice so many games that that's not difficult to be performed. So I think obviously the way the tempo play was played, I think it's more that T1 played great than that Twisted Mind made some mistakes. So actually, clean sleep for the next game. Let's see what the game provides us. Let's try to have a good game plan from the start and execute. And I really believe that Twisted Mind can tie the series and even win it. But of course, T1 is looking amazing right now.
And this isn't the first time that T1 has had Twisted Minds have had a setback as well. You know, they've had setbacks before. They've been able to mentally reset as well and get into a position where they can come back as well. So this is a time that we know the game is done. This is a time for them to communicate. This is a time for them to say, okay, we need a different plan going into game number 2. This plan of all of us going tempo didn't really work out. The only reroll being the multi-strikers, which didn't cap out, unfortunately. And there was just not much denial, I feel like, on Twisted Mind's side. You know, with Sinja 3, Casio 3, Cogmore 3, all these rerolls going over to T1, Twisted Mind didn't pick any of them up or deny any of them across the board.
I mean, to pick up on what you're saying there, Stuart, with the first game versus MSJ, they did directly say it was from underestimating their opponents. I do wonder, coming into this one, with what Twisted Minds thought of T1, what level of threat they would have expected from them. Certainly, T1 have had a great run through the tournament so far. They have gone to 3 games in 2 of their 3 series. Whereas for Twisted Minds, again, we talked about, they've had the 6 games in a row of victories, which have now been ended as of this game.
Yeah, for the question that you were asking just yesterday, Toronto Ultra was talking about this. They got the game, and Twisted Mind, T1 and Toronto Ultra were together so much, and now, once again, we finalize here with T1 win. They already had it since the start with the 7 and 8 quick for Twisted Mind. So this is great. This is exactly what you need. Now you only need to perform once more. Remember, this is best of 3 in this series. T1 against Twisted Mind. Possibility for China to get 2 in the finals, or APAC with T1 getting that Asian final as the possibility. So great to see.
Of course, the Wolves are waiting, watching, readying themselves for their opponents. There will only be a relatively minimal break between the semi-final and the grand final itself. So every piece of information they can gather will be ultimately extremely important. Certainly though, for Twisted Minds, I'm with you guys here. I really hope we get to see this go to a full 3-game series. As much as the T1 players have been taking this whole experience deathly serious, Twisted Minds have got more to show.
And you can see the thinking faces right now. You can see like they need a plan B. Twisted Minds needs to come up with something. Them staying on the stage there, actually communicating with each other, making sure that they can actually get into a position where they feel like, hey, we can be in a strong position to try and win the next game.
All right, gentle friends, we've got at least one more game in the semifinals. We've got the grand finals coming up a little bit later on, of course, once this series is done. For now, though, the Dr. Suleiman Al Habib Showdown will continue after the break. We'll see you in a few minutes' time.
I'm joined by Juan Mei of Twisted Minds ahead of this semi-final up against T1. Yesterday, 2 back-to-back victories. You're going into this with winning momentum. Must feel pretty incredible.
昨天你们赢了2个比赛，就是下午有2个比赛你们都赢了，然后今天跟 TE 你有什么样的感受啊？
我感觉我们昨天赢的都比较轻松，今天希望 T1 能打出点我们的东西吧。
Yesterday we also played well. We win one on one, but today I think we have the same momentum and we're gonna win again. I think that's my prediction.
Do you think that playing 2 series in one day has given you an advantage coming into today, where you have to win a semi-final and a grand final to become the winner?
今天你要玩2个比赛，那昨天你们也玩了2个比赛，你觉得这个有没有什么，就是对你来说有什么意义吗？就是说你今天会玩的舒服一点，因为你昨天也打了2个比赛，今天有2个比赛嘛。
对于我们而言，其实打1轮打2轮，其实影响不会特别大。毕竟我们也是从这种环境走出来的，一天打过很多轮。
So he said it's not a big difference we're gonna make, but I think we used to play like 2, 3, 4 games a day. We play often, so I think it's gonna be okay for us to play today. And yeah, it will be same advantage like always.
Good luck. Thank you. Esports orgs don't get much more iconic than T1, and I'm here with Bobe ahead of what could be a very long day for you guys if, of course, you are successful in your first semi-final against Twisted Minds. First things first, what's preparation been like overnight, and are you feeling ready?
일단은 트위스티드 마인드와 4강전 앞두고 계신데 좀 어떤 준비를 하셨고 또 오늘 좀 어떻게 이제 경기를 좀 하실 계획이신지 궁금합니다.
우선 저희가 이제 어제 더 빨리 올라갔기 때문에 트위스티드 마인드 경기를 챙겨봤고요. 그래서 트위스티드 마인드는 여전히 저희랑 스크림했던 거와 똑같은 전략을 사용했어가지고 그 전략을 저희가 이제 잘 준비했기 때문에 충분히 잘 간파할 수 있을 것 같습니다.
Well, obviously we finished our match earlier than Twisted Mind, so we actually watched their game, and I saw them playing as same as we scrimmed them. So considering the fact that they're using the same strategy, I think we have a very good counter of that.
Good. So you're feeling confident that you'll make it into the grand final. Just briefly here, once Fnatic dropped out of the tournament, you guys were probably leapfrogged to the point where you're the favorites left here. Do you feel that too?
이제 프나틱이 탈락하고 난 뒤로는 이제 T1이 아무래도 좀 우승 후보로 굉장히 지금 떠오르고 있는데 선수분도 좀 그렇게 생각하시는지 좀 궁금합니다.
사실 여기 왔을 때부터 우승만 생각하고 오긴 했지만 이제 결국에는 다른 중국 팀들도 굉장히 잘하기 때문에 저희가 실수만 하지 않는다면 우승할 수 있을 거라고 생각합니다. 그래서 다 같이 실수 안 하기로 이제 가장 많이 생각 중에 있습니다.
Well, obviously, all we thought about was winning, so definitely we were trying to aim for that. But considering the fact that Chinese team was really well, did really well on the tournament, so what we're trying to focus on is actually just not trying to focus on the enemy team. We're just gonna focus on our plays, not to make mistakes.
You got this. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the Esports World Cup. We are perhaps one game away from sending our final team to the finals. T1 with a dominating Game 1 victory against Twisted Minds. Gentlemen, do you think that they can see a Twisted Minds comeback?
I think it's going to be difficult. I think in game number 1, there were definitely some signs of Twisted Minds, preparing very well for this game, but T1 being able to hit them 3 stars in the end really made the big difference. We saw that it was a very tempo-heavy game with how much gold there was at the start of the game, right? A lot of players aggressively rolling down at 3-2, trying to hit their 3 stars, and that's exactly what T1 were able to do.
Yeah,
they rolled down aggressively, they got their 3 stars, and that's what allowed them to stabilize their boards.
Both teams aggressively going for a particular game plan, as you're saying, Stuart, rolling deep, getting that 3-2 stabilization on, and finally here losing again. Ancestral Dragon, that's what you want to see in the end, with nothing in the line. And Bobe being the winner here, great. Syndra 3, Cassiopeia 3 that we haven't seen in so much. Being the secondary carrier, you want to funnel all the items obviously on the Syndra. So great to see, and Bobe once again taking it out here. He's the second in placement 41.
That might be the first time we've ever seen someone lose to Dragon in a competitive game of TFT. I don't think I've ever seen that, obviously.
We've seen a lot losing to the Scarab, to the
Krugs.
To the Krug. No, and to the
Crab Brave.
The Crab Brave, yeah.
That's something we haven't actually seen this tournament. Where's the Scuttle Puddle?
They're not picking
Where's
it.
The Crab Brave?
Sometimes it's there, they're not picking it. They don't want the variance. It's too much variance, it's too much resources. They want to keep it clean, maybe more competitive.
The players are too boring. I want more hype.
Oh, come on. If it's got to get you hype, what's going to make you hype?
I want more Portal hype. Obviously, the game's a hype, but I want more Portal hype.
It's not from the portals, it's from the teamwork, it's from the domination. We saw on the desk there the key at stake for these players. They've got a chance to put in the trophy if only they can make it to the finals and win that best of 5 as well. Twisted Minds, they're feeling the pressure. We'll be headed out into game number 2. The Esports World Cup presents Teamfight Tactics, semi-finals 2, Game 2.
Stuart, do you see any fun portals here?
No.
No?
No fun.
You don't like?
No.
No fun observed.
Competitive portal we have here.
Yes,
Okay, which
think
is the most competitive portal of the three?
I mean, that's the way you put it, right? Because a lot of players don't want, as you mentioned, high variance. They want competitive ones. Loaded carousel is something that we haven't seen too often. You know, mostly it's just like little variants like item payouts and things like that. But loaded carousels means we're going to get more items this game.
Yeah, and that means the opposite of the first game. First game, we only started with 2 components in the neutral rounds, and now Counter will have so much additional resources. What is the best comp to play? Who will get that tempo early? Because with more resources, you will lose more HP. So tempo now, it will be more important, but the previous round was also very tempo heavy, so I don't know how much more tempo can we get.
We can find, there's always room for more tempo in this wagon.
You see that roof above us? The tempo could take us through the roof, that's for sure.
Oh my gosh, that's quite a promise for this game. But I think you're right, especially for players like Snowy here who find the units they want early on to go into that carousel and be able to go after the exact items they need from the beginning of the game is fantastic.
2 Syndras early for Snowy. Obviously, Cap putting the Syndra in the front, ensuring that she gets at least 2 casts in the early. Stuart's laughing here because of the 2 Syndras.
Christmas has come early.
This is the meta. No, this is the meta. They said it like this is the high roll that you want to have. Normally, when we got our high roll, it's like okay, I went to level 8, I rolled 10 gold, and I got Karma 2. No, the high roll is getting on orbs 1 Syndra.
Yes.
He got 2.
So if 1 Syndra is high roll, what's 2 Syndras?
High roll?
High?
High.
I
can't wait to enter the game. Absolutely. When it's Snowy, it pours. And that's a great start for Twisted Minds. Again, remember, they need to win here. As we do see some beautiful items coming through. We don't need a loaded carousel. We've got everything we need immediately.
Rage Blade to get the Syndra stacking early on as well, which is going to be so huge. I mean, if you really want to, you can get even more components with Stim Pack as well. Obviously, Band of Thieves also being another good option if you want to try and win streak.
I wouldn't hate patience as a virtue here. I mean, if we're going to be sitting around for a while, you can kind of bank those rerolls coming in. Admittedly, yeah, you are giving up some of the other power from certain Band of Thieves to be very powerful in itself, but I wouldn't hate it.
Yeah, it's a possibility. Obviously, you will not maybe be winning 100%, but you want to have some power, mainly because you want the Syndra to stay alive as long as possible. So if you get Band of Thieves, you can give it to a tank. He decides to roll, so he will go for, he wants to handpick items. This is great, and now he has the possibility to slam in both Winsus and Adaptive Helm to generate as much mana as possible. He will wait here and maybe try to greed for the Shojin.
Yeah, I think he's going to greed for the Shojin, knowing that it's a loaded carousel, so there might be a lot more swords on the carousel, but also because he has the Pandoras, it means that that cloak can maybe roll into a BF sword as well, right? So I think there are possibilities. We have been seeing Adaptive Helm on Syndra, but I think in this sort of game, with how many components and how many items we're going to be seeing this game, you need to try and get the biggest cap.
I want to pick up on a couple of things that pass us by a little bit there as we see. So, Zuni going to take a little bit of break. You see, taking a drink of water. This is the advantage you get from this augment. You can take your hands off the keyboard and say, you know what? I'm a little tense coming into this incredibly important game. I need an extra break.
In a 4 versus 4 format, though, actually AFK doesn't seem that bad because, yes, your hands are off the keyboard, but you can actually look at the other boards and you can actually tell everyone else what they're playing. So it gives other players time to focus on their boards, trying to get the strongest board possible. And Dinazuni here, obviously taking a drink at the moment, but can actually make sure that he's communicating with his team and knowing what units are being picked up across the boards.
I think it makes sense. Hydration important, or always for this. We're hydrating here on the booth also. Keep it in good, and for now, waiting. So he had a good board, even with the Blitzcrank, so it will be a board that will be winning against Open Fortress, but the Syndra now for Snowy is the name of the game. Already the Ginso there, looking for the Shojin, and now with this Rampart Stuart, I think Snowy could be the hero, or at least the funneling of resources will try to go for him, and he could be the one who cap out.
Well, we have got ourselves another Caretaker's ally to contend with as well, because I believe that will be Cogmore coming in for a whole bunch of extra helping and hurting. We'll see how it works out longer term, but if that is the case, that's a huge accelerant forwards.
Not too sure if I mean, I'm assuming it's the Kog'Maw as well, with 4 Kog'Maws already out the pool. I mean, that is pretty crazy to see that many Kog'Maws already. But we know that there are other players on the other side as well, like Dinner's Uni, also going for Honey Manta to start things off. So there needs to be some communication of like, okay, I have the Caretakers, I have Kog'Maw. Now Dinner's Uni actually needs to somehow change his board around, because they both can't go for Kog'Maw, right? I think it's too difficult for 2 players on the same team to go for Kog'Maw. So after this AFK is finished, we're probably going to be seeing Dinajuni actually change his board around and go for something different.
And that would make all the sense in the world, as the AFK board actually managing to do remarkably well there in the previous round. But yeah, being able to find an economic augment at silver is always interesting, as we will have our first loaded carousel. And what do we spot but a spatula there as well? The promise of verticals. We'll see who's going to grab it, and it will be scooped up immediately.
Yeah, it's for Bintium, so Bintium now getting that Lilia in the front. Could be a vertical for Fairies. Let's see what he goes for in the end. So maybe he has possibilities to do something else. Maybe it was important for Griffin, but we'll see it in the long term. For now, let's see a little what they're all playing. Bobai, for example, with the Kog'Maw, and on the right, a little more of the comps.
2 players on T1 actually taking AFK. Bintum and Dinajuni both taking AFK, and as you can see, going to be able to get the gold in the bank now as well, which is going to be so huge and accelerate that gold, accelerate their interest as well. But I think you bring up a good point with that spatula. You know, we have been seeing a lot of Fairy. Portal spatula has also been good as well. Portal Emblem to try and get 8th Portal.
Eldritch is nice.
Eldritch is pretty good as well. There are definitely a lot of possibilities here, so it's going to be interesting to see what direction Bintum goes into.
As you said, the 2 AFK gold injections, as Bintum's saying, I ain't taking any chances here of being griefed on the Lost Streakers. We haven't talked yet about Hwanmei, who has gone branching out and found a Frost Emblem to get himself started into one of the more unusual, very lesser played routes.
Yeah, that's exactly the one you don't want to see. It's very difficult to play the Frost Vertical, even in a good spot. We saw it in the previous game, in the previous days. Some of the players, I was going to say many, not many other players. Some, maybe a pair, tried to do the Frost Vertical, never worked. 8th place and 7th, if I'm not mistaken. So that's not the way to go, but he will try to use it at least for a little tempo in the early game.
Looks like Snowy and Bobe actually leveling quite aggressively. Maybe even, we didn't see it, but maybe even trying to potentially roll as well, because we saw Snowy just get a Syndra 2-star, so I wasn't too sure if that was natural, but having only 11 and 19 gold this early on the game is definitely super surprising to see. Obviously, the extra leveling means that you are going to be losing that little bit of gold and a little bit of interest, but both these players trying to keep that little bit of a streak.
Yeah, it's going to be very important, because we know that we've got a lot, items are definitely not the problem for our players here. We've been a load of carousel. They've got a decent amount, especially if you've got things like Pandora's Bench or over encumbered like we've got here. So I think that the priorities start to move down and say, okay, we don't need to worry as much about items. What do we need to worry about? And perhaps that's, perhaps it's going to be the gold from the streaks and putting down pressure on player HP instead.
Yeah, and highlights also to our observer. We're seeing just their Bintium maintaining the lose streak. We have one of the best observers we've seen. So
yeah, fantastic.
Good highlight for him, yeah. And now coming up to the rocks. Let's see what we get here. Additional resources, as we know, is a loaded carousel, so many resources. They haven't been slamming much, so no one, once again, want to go for strongest board. They're actually, once again, being very greedy with the item, making sure that they are able to ramp up and have a great comp in this mid-game. So 3-2 or 3-1, as we've been seeing, deep rolls for them, and maybe 1 or 2 players will go for that fast 8 and a deep roll and in 4-1 or 4-2 later.
Take a quick look on the right-hand side to check the status of the lobby overall. You can see that we've got a pretty even spread between our teams. Snowy really the one who's standing out, and Bintum from T1. So we've got teams trading off wins and loss streaks right now, but I think you're right. We're needing to go a little bit into stage 3 to start to see perhaps the separation really emerge.
Seems like Bintum here definitely wants to try and go for the Fairy. We did see the Lilia and the Seraphine is being kept on the bench. Double bow as well means you can try and get like double Rageblade or Rageblade Lost Whisper on the Callista. So we're probably going to be seeing Bintum trying to kind of level and also just make sure that he can stabilize. You can see he has leveled to level 6 already at 3-1. Same with Bobe as well, wants to try and keep that streak. So both of these players leveling to level 6 already means you can try and get that. But I think now definitely you can see that Kog'Maw was the caretaker caretaker's choice for him. So, I mean, he's only a few Cogmores away. He levels up 2 more times, he has Cogmore 3.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't need to re-roll that.
Yes.
He can just guarantee that by pushing forward. The only problem, of course, is there's not a ton of money in the bank. You need to get that by getting the wins in instead, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, he's good. He's going up against 60 Second here that hasn't found his board. So I think Bobe, even though, as you said, he can go up and get the Cogmore 2, he didn't get this to stabilize with the front line. So he's actually in a weird spot. He needs to roll that a little more, even if it doesn't make sense. So if he gets one additional Cogmore, then he can go to level 7 and ensure that he can get a 3-star.
Could it be
Oh,
our most famous of augments, which
I
has
see
yet
it.
to be defeated on broadcast?
Golden Quest. Do you like a Stuart here?
PogChamp.
Yeah, he has the lose streak. He has.
Here's a
This
lost
is the
streak.
spot, right?
He has so much gold as
Yeah.
well in the bank. Like
Perfect.
it's actually a perfect opportunity. I mean, you have support Golem as well. Obviously, one of the best performing augments in the game. He hasn't rolled past Golden
Oh.
Quest. Oh,
Yes! Okay, so let's take stock of where we are. Before, we've seen people with a Golden Quest go down very low to cash out. Bintum, he's rich in money, but not in HP. How would you guys like to see him approach this?
I mean, he needs to know. The thing about it is that you don't know exactly what you will get, so you need to be maybe a little flexible in the items. So maybe go for frontline items, preserve HP as much as possible, but you don't want to roll. So he needs to play with the resources that he has, be the most efficient that he can, maybe preserve HP thanks to his partners, and then when he gets to that 160 plus goal, get the cash out and see what he does with that.
I mean, if he wins this round as well, it could also be really, really huge for him. He doesn't keep the streak, unfortunately, so he's not going to get as much gold. But as you mentioned, Peter, you know, being able to preserve that HP, making sure that he doesn't drop too low on HP. You can see, though, he's keeping his bench spots open. He's keeping his options open on the bench. As you said, Hubison doesn't know what 5 cost he's going to get once he gets to that gold. So keeping the extra units on your bench means that whatever one you can get, you can kind of adapt to which one you
Except Milio. You don't want Milio.
Oh, come on.
No.
I mean, Milo is kind of cute. Like, it's just not...
Yes.
He plays football. What's
Yeah.
that like? But no, you're absolutely right. I think particularly keeping on with those bridge units between competitions is very important. Personally speaking, I much preferred the last time we saw Golden Quest, where it was played by playing a very expensive board, very aggressively. Then you've got a lot of board to sell off, get, cash out the Golden Quest, and then rebuild from there.
Yeah, that's the plan, and let's see how early can he do it. 60 seconds, still haven't stabilized. He's very low, 64.
60 second also having Golden Quest.
Wait,
as
what?
Oh. We have a double Golden Quest game, so we are not going to be seeing Golden Quest going first in every single game now. One of these players has to go second or 8, maybe even lower.
Which Golden Quest will be the golden best? Let's get the carousel again and see if we can pick up some of those items. We mentioned before, our players will be able to pick and choose very carefully which items to get for the units across the board, as well as picking up, as we can see, a lot of very powerful 4 costs from this carousel as well.
A lot of good defensive components as well, so really good for front lines. A lot of chain vests to be able to make these frontline items, which can be so huge as well. Looking at the other augments, no real surprises. Zui going for the 2 healthy. We have the Honey Monster trait as well on Bobe, who already has the Cogmore 3-star now, so that huge spike coming on through there.
Yeah, I believe the BS friends definitely works a lot better in writing than it does when you say it out loud. But either
That's why I didn't say it, by the way. I baited you to say
did.
it
I was like,
just to make you sound like an idiot.
I was like, beast friends? I don't know. That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. But hey, whatever it does, it means that the Honey Monsters are going to be a much more of a threat. Bobe and SCSC, they're both on massive win streaks. Best case scenario, they both take them into Wolves here, and that's a massive amount of gold, particularly for Bobe.
Yeah, and for SCSC it's great because normally Hecarim you want a lot of items, and that will increase the Arcana power. Arcana power will be more physical damage for the rest of the lobby, so that funnels a lot of damage to the Calypsa. So actually, great identification of the portal to see what Arcana makes sense, and then go for the comp that makes sense. So actually, this is a good optimization and something that we can learn not only for 4v4, for our gameplays individually in solo queue.
As we saw in the picture there on the right-hand side, Bobe, already having that Cogmore 3-star, can now hold other units. He stabilized his board now and his board is strong enough where he's like, hey, I could be the one that denies all the units, had a casting 2 on the bench, had 2 Syndras on the bench as well. So being able to get that Caretakers allows you to get that 3-star earlier, stabilize your board, and then use the gold instead, not to roll down for your units, but to roll down for other units to deny across the boards.
We'll see if they face each other. If they do not, Bobe and SCSC will make out like bandits here, and they avoid each other. Bintam, unfortunately, again, on the Golden Quest, is going to take, I suspect, a fairly substantial hit. But if T1 can hold on to both of their win streaks here, I mean, they've got a Golden Quest of their own to complete.
I feel like I just want him picture-in-picture for the rest of this game with the 2 Golden Quest players.
Yep.
Just to see
I was thinking the same thing.
I just want to see how much gold these 2 Golden Quest players have and see how far we have to go, like how far we have until we get to that point of the game where we do get the cash out as well. But it might not be too far away, to be fair. We'll have to see 103 gold for Bintam, so not too bad. Needs about, what is it, 140 was it? So it needs about...
No, it's about
160. Yeah, so sorry, 60 more gold left. 40 more gold left
like
for 60 seconds.
it's very weird because it's actually like 0.8, so if you have the amount of gold, but you don't have the 0.8, it's weird. Yeah,
That is weird. Why don't they
Nobody
add the
has ever
0.8?
sold their board and gotten 0.8 short of cashing this out.
So
Never
why did
happened
they-
in the world
Why
ever.
did they add the 0.8? Why did they add the 0.8?
Oh, it's a joke. It
Because
was the
they
golden.
can?
Originally, the old one was called Golden Ratio, which is that number. They changed it to Golden Quest because they realized nobody knew what Golden Ratio was. But they left the number in place, confusing everybody else from here on out.
Oh, it's confusing me as well, for sure, because I don't think you can sell something for 0.8. But hey, 60second now needs 20 more gold. I mean, if he wants to, can he sell? I mean, he could sell his board probably, but...
Yeah, but he has good
Does he want
items
to?
for the Kalista, so
Yeah.
maybe maintaining her for now, play around her. So one more round. I'm pretty sure 4-2 for both of them will be the chance to do the cash out.
So, gentlemen, we've talked about ones we don't want to see. What would be the best possible outcome for these Golden Quests?
Any ideas here?
Briar probably would be pretty good. We've seen Briar already. I mean, we saw Briar.
It worked before.
It worked before. It got a first place before. I think Briar is pretty underrated. Nora could be good with obviously Yumi. That's also
Nora
another
is amazing,
great
yeah.
as well.
Any frontliners, Diana, Morgana are amazing for preservers in the late game. I think even though I gave a little not love to Milio, if he already has the Kalista, makes a little sense if he have frontline to give time to the Milio to give items. So now is the chance. Final elements, reinforcement if you want to go for tempo.
Here
and
we
that
go.
would be the idea.
Oh,
Great tempo. Okay, Smolder.
And Diana. All right.
He has the Ginsu, he has good items, he will need to peel out. The problem, Smolder, normally you want to play with Pyro and the Blaster comp, and it will be difficult. He didn't stack in the early game, so now he's looking for that Barut probably and trying to stack or improve the front line.
So, I mean, him taking the reinforcement, I thought he might have tried to go for the Varus as well. He could have tried to go for Varus to try and get the Blaster in as well. That could have been another opportunity to take, but instead, it's going to be putting Tristana at the moment in for Blaster. I think for 60second, not really the best. On the other side, Bintam getting Diana. So pretty good front line.
That's great.
Yeah, pretty good front line there. Obviously, can use a Bastion
Diana
to help
has
out
been
there as
nerfed
well.
so much. Well, it was broken in the PvE. Totally nerfed, she's still broken. So I love to see such a good unit, so much defense. She heals, she shields, and she simply doesn't die.
Yeah, I mean, she just ripped through the center of the board there as well, and also slowing across the entire team as well. Looking real good. Smolder on the left-hand side is still pulling his weight though, with the Callister items working very well for him as well.
So I think the big thing now is for these two players, now that the Golden Quest has come in, we're expecting them to win this stage, most likely, throughout stage 4, because the rest of the boards have not really capped. It's how both these players are able to use this Golden Quest to adapt the rest of their board, to cap out the rest of their board as well. As I mentioned, the Varus is going to be a pretty big priority. You can see the Pyro being played as well. I think in general, 60second maybe didn't get the best one. I think Diana is a lot better than Quest has come in. We're expecting them to win this stage, most likely, throughout stage 4, because the rest of the boards have not really capped. It's how both these players are able to use this Golden Quest to adapt the rest of their board, to cap out the rest of their board as well. As I mentioned, the Varus is going to be a pretty big priority. You can see the Pyro being played as well. I think in general, 60second maybe didn't get the best one. I think Diana is a lot better than Smolder, but there are ways in which 60second can still make this work.
Oh, do want to point out as well, Bintam managing to find the Witchcraft emblem for the Karma as well. We've got a very good board developing, even outside of the Diana.
Yeah, it's very, very good. He finds what he needs. He also got the Chrono in, getting the Camille. It was the Fiora, I'm sorry. And then in the left, we see the Varus 2 with the Last Whisper. So area damage, reducing the amount of armor for the rest. And this is great because the Smolder is moving around the board and hitting a lot of units. So you need to ensure that everyone is weak.
Is it enough?
Is that the sound of a Smolder? No!
Oh, no! It's a disaster.
Okay, he's not out yet, but 60-second, that is going to be a very chilling moment, saying that even with the Golden Quest completed, we might be seeing the decision on the 100% win rate, as you said, Stuart, decided early.
It's a disaster for 60 seconds. I might have cursed. Maybe they don't win the whole of stage 4. Maybe the Smolder is not good enough, unfortunately, but yeah. 60-second there, maybe the front line not too strong enough as well. Obviously, prioritizing front line with reinforcement with Tom Kench, but in general has no combat augments at all. Just has full in terms of like just being able to get as much gold as possible, which is kind of making him a little bit weaker against these other boards that have the combat augments.
Yeah, and I mean, made sense the reinforcements. He wanted to be strong in that round, but the actual to get reinforcements, as you say, then lose is exactly what you don't want to see because he will not win out. This is a total tempo augment, as you just said, Stuart, so this is not the best spot. He finds the Shyvana, so now he can cut healing with the dragons. That's huge for him. He didn't have the item, so now a little better against some of the comps counter. Let's see if it's enough. Karma 2, still not there for Vintium.
No, keep my eyes very closely on the left-hand side, because Vintium, I think, has got maybe enough to absorb the loss, and the board already looked very strong. The 60-second, though, now has to avoid running headfirst into the Kassadin. Fortunately, as you said before, Stuart, Smolder is very slippery, but he may run out of places to run quicker. No, the Kassadin does get dropped. This is a matchup that 60-second could win.
In the end as well, it looks like Juanmei on the other side is going to be losing against Bintum, so big win again for T1 as well. Juanmei's board we haven't seen for quite some time, but he's actually kept that Frost emblem and is going for Vertical Frost, which we know before didn't have the best of performances the last time we saw it. So it'll be interesting to see as we can see the split screen at the moment of both these Golden Quest players. It's really down to them two who's going to be 8th place and who's not.
Well, I mean, it's a little unfortunate to be in Vertical Frost when your capstone unit has already been 2-starred by the opposing team here. And it's, you know, we're being demonstrated. Wouldn't you love to have this on your front line right now?
Yeah, that would be ideal. Now getting the Seraph also to do true damage. So 1 life only for 60 seconds. Let's see if it's enough. Vintium should have 2 lives here. And now going up against Snoddy. He has good item, support item there with the Moonstone, getting additional shields in. That will be very good for them not to fall down onto the board. Smolder is now in the backline, making good damage, good ground control, good setup.
Okay.
And once again, 60 seconds safe, Vintium great, and once again, working it out with the Golden Quest, and both of them safe, but very low in HP.
All right, Stuart, would you, on a technicality, allow a 100% win rate for Golden Quest if both of our Golden Quest players manage to hit top 2?
Nope.
Oh, boy. You're a harsh judge indeed.
I'm brutal. I'm a brutal judge. No, I mean, the first place dream is not going to happen. I mean, to be fair, I think both these players, they can maybe try and sneak in the top 4, but even then I don't think it's really possible with the rest of their boards as well. But as mentioned, we've seen Juanmei's board here as well. Vertical Frost, using that Frost emblem on the Varus with the AoE damage. So definitely it's pretty decent. I think the only problem with Frost at the moment is that the Olaf, the forecast, is not a very strong forecast at the moment. So it's very difficult to use the Frost in that type of way.
Yeah, he has the little bodies. He has also the mentorship. So he's actually using the bad units of Frost in his favor to funnel damage and additional power to his units. Once again, we see the split screen, and finally, for Vintium, that Karma 2 is so important to get that additional damage, additional burst. He already got the front line. He only needed that damage. So a better spot here for him. Huge roll on the left, also for 60 seconds, 0 goal. Getting that Taric, additional front line again. So both of them a lot better now, Peter.
I was waiting just to see if we'd end up with them against each other, because they've been avoiding each other for a really long time. 60 second, of course, as we mentioned before, the one more vulnerable to being knocked out here and leaving the only surviving Golden Quest to make a mess of everything. Diana on the right-hand side of the screen is an absolute monster. She refused to put down the Bloodthirster as well. as 60 seconds survives again. They're both streaking from the bottom of the table.
No one is dead. We're into stage 5 and no one is dying. What is going on this game? This is an absolutely crazy game by both of these teams. We're now seeing about a 40 HP difference now from first all the way down to 8th place. So this is really going to go down to the wire.
We can't help but notice, looking at scoreboard on the right-hand side, the team tags of the players at the top right now. T1, they need one more game to go to the grand finals and battle with the Wolves. It's looking real good. Momentum seems to be in T1's favor.
They're still not against each other. What's going on? They're just dodging each other.
It's forbidden for two Golden Quest players to play each other.
The question is Smolder 2 better than the Honey Muncie? Can it take down the Cosmore 3-star as well? It's focusing the Varus. The Varus is down. Is the Smolder going to go down? It's not. Left-hand side, 60-second wins. Bintum wins as well. They're both still alive. The dream is still available.
I'm telling you, it can't be beat. It won't be beat. But we've got to have ourselves a win here. T1, they are looking real good. But 60-second, after that initial stumble, has found his feet really well. And maybe if he can get the Nasus 2-star as well, his front line, which has been anchored so well by the Tarak up until this point, will hold long enough for Smolder to get the job done.
He doesn't have the goal, but as you say, Peter, that's the ramp up that he needs. He decides to sell. It's too huge.
Wow,
He already has
okay.
items on that Nasus, putting up again. So the Tarik is the one who will take the sacrifice here. Nasus, very good enough. He has the scaling, getting additional SP and increasing the rest. So it's a lot more burst damage, and that's exactly what you need with the Smolder. Once again, split screen, both with Golden Crest in the right pin, Team 41. Twisted 60 seconds. Going for it, slamming once again, going into the back. Looking good for 60 seconds, avoiding the crowd control. Is a win, and on the right,
They
once
both
again.
win.
What is going on?
They
It's
will
just
go
the best augment.
Hold hands until the top. That is what we're going to see here, sir.
Technicality is what's needed. Wanmei is eliminated, though. There's nothing
once
technical
again,
about
Frost.
that. We thought Frost would betray
tried.
him, and
I mean,
has.
And he did great. I mean, again, little bodies, everything that you should supposed to be need
Yes.
for this vertical to work, actually getting use of the bad units in the comp, because normally that's because the vertical is bad. Only the Olaf is good, maybe the Diana in the late game, but the rest is not helping. He used his helmet to be able to get support about that. It wasn't enough.
Gentlemen, we should ready ourselves, because with Wanmei eliminated, we see Snowy and 60 Second. They are also very low as well. It's not out of the question. Twisted Minds could get shut out of the game in just 1 or 2 rounds.
Wanmei, in the end, the risk not paying off with the branching out in the end, unfortunately, getting that Frost Emblem, was maybe hoping for a Reforger to try and change that around, but unfortunately, that's what happens when you pay Frost in this meta at the moment, and it could cost Twisted Minds a chance at the final.
Yeah, once again, Bintium, 60 Second, and Snowy. Very low on HP, Snowy and 60 Second with only 1 life.
Surely they play against each other now, right? Please, like,
It's
they've
gonna
been dodging
be.
each other the whole time.
It's coming. There
All
it
right,
is.
here we go! Golden Quest versus Golden Quest. 60 Seconds has to win this round, or it's going to be almost done immediately for Twisted Mind. We have been disrespecting
Dyna's dead!
Smolder. We do see actually cutting through a lot of the units. Smolder dashing between.
the Fiora went to the
front line are staying intact though. Bintium
Only
is coming in.
Smolder alive!
Smolder
And
is
he's
out
out.
there.
60 seconds
Second
out.
gets taken all the way to Mars. That's a second elimination.
And there it
Snowy's
is.
alive?
Okay, I thought it was a third for a second, but we're still fighting.
No, this is huge. 60 Second, Wanmei, Twisted Mind, double bottom with an ace and a 7. So now they need a 1 and a 2 holding hands for Snowy, for CUA. This is a dire place here. T1 is happy. They just need to outperform them in 1 placement.
It's all going to come down to this next fight. 10 HP difference between 1st and 6th place. Twisted Minds need to come up with a miracle to try and get the top 2.
And it's going to be the 2 Twisted players against each other,
Oh,
which means they're going to take out one or the other.
No.
If Wanmei dies, if Wanmei's taken out this round, maybe they're somehow saved. But either way, they're facing down each other with the players immediately to the right and to their left. For Snowy, his board, it seems like it's just going to be that too much, too strong. Kassadin is dropped. The hits come in. Bombe does get dropped.
Wait a second.
Riyadh is not out in bottom 2, but it doesn't matter. The bottom 3, Twisted Minds, are done. T1, they took the banner of Faker, and they're going to bring it into the finals.
Once again, so now with this, we have the confirmation. T1 will take the win, go to the finals, and now we have a good representation. We have APAC versus China for the finals. T1 versus Wolf. It will be hype.
No one expected really APAC to go this far. I really think going into this tournament, no one expected T1, anyone from APAC to do well, but it really has been a tournament of the underdogs as well, with Na'Vi doing incredibly well from APAC. Now T1 going all the way to the final, taking out Twisted Minds. The question is, can they go one more? Can they take out another Chinese team in the Wolves to win the Esports World Cup?
I'm talking to Bowe, for everyone who's talked to the T1 team before, it radiates from them how important this has been to fight under this banner, to follow in the footsteps of Faker. Of course, T1 have already won in League of Legends. A second win would propel them up the club championship point standings. It's massively significant for them. I think if anything, of course, they deserve this victory lap here, but I think they really come into our best of 5 grand finals with a ton of momentum.
Yeah, great teamwork. Once again, Bintium was the one leading the team. Now with this Golden Quest, being the leader, but normally in a sacrificial role in the rest of the series. So great to see now falling to Nizuni here. Doesn't matter, as we know, already qualified. Snowy trying to fight it out. There in the end, for Twisted Mind goes out again. And now we have the final confirmation, obviously, to be prepared for the MVP. Very important, remember, there is also, for the final round, whoever gets the best average placement
AVP, yes,
will get the MVP, and an additional $50,000, plus, obviously, the $500,000 that are the tournament prize for any of the teams that get first place.
And it's worth noting as well, as was the case in the previous round, our teams came in with 45,000 already secured. For T1, they have doubled that now heading into the grand finals. They've got a chance to double it again and again, get the 1,000 club points, which will be hugely significant going forward. Snowy looking down the barrel of Vincent's incredible ball. We've now got a second 2-star 5 cost in place with the Morgana as well. What a victory run it's been for the Golden